Selamat siang. Welcome to the latest news from Bali and Indonesia. This is July 22nd, 2022, and my name is Bruce. And I hope the weather where you are is as good as it is here. If you're in one of the hot zones, I hope that you are doing okay. The good news here is another lovely day in Bulalang. The temperature is 29.8 degrees Celsius. Wind speed is 11.7 kilometers per hour, a little windy, and the humidity is 64%. And it is Friday and a lot of news today, and I'm going to get as much as I can in, and well, that's all we can do, right? And some important stories that I've been following, and well, one of them is wrapped up a bit, and that is the story about medical marijuana, and we'll take a look at that in just a minute. There's a few bules behaving badly, overstayers having been deported from Indonesia, and well, the length is pretty long for one of them. And some new information on what's happening in Komodo, because the president was over there this week. So let's get started and take a look at the numbers. Numbers are still up. National new cases, 5,410. National recoveries, 2,925. And national deaths, only 5 still. Bali new cases, 157, so we're still in that 100 to 150 mark, right around there. Bali recovery, 79, and Bali deaths, 0. I will have something to say about the numbers from a virologist from Udayana University right here in Bali. Let's take a look at the main story today, and there's a couple segments on this. Constitutional Court rejects call to legalize medical marijuana. Okay, that's not good, and you're gonna hear some background noise. I've got a guy coming in and putting some curtains over the windows on the east side of my room here because it is just so bright. I can't see the computer until about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so getting some work done today. The Constitutional Court on Wednesday rejected a judicial review of the country's narcotics laws that would have paved the way for legalizing marijuana for medicinal use. A panel of 9 judges ruled. As you might remember from an earlier story, 3 mothers of children with cerebral palsy, backed by civil society organizations in 2020, filed a judicial review of the country's strict narcotics laws, arguing for the use of medicinal marijuana to treat their children's symptoms. And what did the judges say? They said there was insufficient research to justify a ruling in favor of medicinal marijuana, but urged the government to immediately conduct research on therapeutic usage of narcotics. Judge Suhartoyo said the court needs to emphasize that the government should immediately follow up, the results of which can be used to determine policies, including, in this case, the possibility of changing the law. So some good news and bad news here. They're not reviewing the case, but they're telling the government to get out and do some research so that they can set policies based on the research. The plaintiffs had argued that not being allowed to use narcotics for medicinal reasons was a constitutional violation of citizens' rights to obtain health services and benefit from the development of science and technology. And as I've talked about in several different videos, the House of Representatives have been discussing amending the rules for medicinal marijuana, saying that it would undertake a comprehensive study on the benefits. And so now the Constitutional Court is telling him, get moving. Okay, so that's what the Constitutional Court said. Let's take a look at another story. Minister of Health regarding medical marijuana research discussed with other ministries. So the Ministry of Health, Pak Budi talked about him so many times in the last couple of years, said that his group was still working on regulations that would provide access to cannabis research for medical needs in Indonesia. The research will also involve a number of researchers from Indonesian universities and pharmacologists. According to Minister Budi, we've discussed this marijuana at the Ministry of Health and with other ministries. We want to use it for research first because in health, everything is evidence-based, scientific-based. Wow. Tell that to some of the people in the United States who don't seem to believe in evidence and science anymore. And Pak Budi mentioned morphine, which is a type of narcotic I'm sure you're all familiar with, which is legal for medical treatment in Indonesia. And I've been given morphine here after surgery. Morphine is used as a medication to relieve moderate to severe pain. Wow, and it gets you high. Pak Budi said that the use of morphine was through a scientific-based research project, so he asked the public to wait for the results of the research that the Ministry of Health plans on carrying out in the near future. Pak Budi added, morphine is measured, given to this person, cannot be sold freely anywhere. Same with marijuana. Marijuana must be investigated so that there is medical evidence whether it can be used for medicinal reasons or not, to whom it is used, how much dose, and so on. He said, well, what we want to do is make a permit for the research, not a permit for use. And one more perspective on this important issue. Responding to the Constitutional Court's decision, activists urged the government to hold medical marijuana research. Erasmus, the executive director of the Institute for Criminal Justice Reform, revealed that the decision of the Constitutional Court was disappointing. He said, disappointed and shocked by all the evidence and experts that we submitted to the courtroom. Now the ball is in the government's court. He said that the Constitutional Court's decision was difficult to accept because so far the prohibition of medical marijuana was carried out without research. Then to open the ban, the court claimed that there was no comprehensive research related to it. Erasmus said that currently the steps that can be taken by the community are only waiting for the government's initiative to implement the Constitutional Court's decision. And so that's where we are. The good news and the bad news. The bad news, the court said no, and the good news, they told the government get moving and do some research on this issue. What about foot and mouth disease? Well, I talked about the issue in terms of Indonesia and Australia, and now New Zealand. New Zealand steps up border protections against foot and mouth disease. According to the Biosecurity and Agriculture Minister, Damien O'Connor, with FMD recently found in the tourist hotspot of Bali, we've taken concrete steps to boost our work at the border in recent weeks, including a public awareness campaign. Okay, if you are from New Zealand, I was going to say Australia, if you're from New Zealand and you've been aware of this public awareness campaign, leave a comment, please, and let us know what it says and what you think about it. The minister said, I call on everyone to be vigilant in playing their part to protect New Zealand's economic security. An outbreak of the virus in New Zealand would severely impact key exports of dairy, red meat, and pork products for months and even years, according to the Ministry for Primary Industries. Biosecurity New Zealand this week introduced foot mats with disinfecting chemicals for arrivals from Indonesia to ensure footwear is clean of the virus. Or if you're here and you've got cheap footwear, you can buy some right here. Shoes are not expensive. Flip-flops are not expensive. You can just take them off and leave them here or give them to somebody. Okay, so we've got New Zealand on the alert and Australia on the alert, and Bali is trying to deal with this. Vaccinations going on. Been some cases now discovered in Badung, and of course we got a lot still in Bulang. So vaccinations going on everywhere. The government is serious about this here in Bali. I don't know what's happening in Java and in Sumatra. I talked about the other day that cases have been found there. I don't know what's going on there, but in Bali, the government is on this. They're trying to get this under control, and Australia and New Zealand have been providing assistance. Okay, and what about the rise in cases, right? We're up over 5,000 now, it seems, every day, and Bali 100 to 150. Unud Virologist calls the increase in COVID-19 cases nothing to worry about. Oh, okay, that's a relief. The increase in the daily number of COVID cases in the last few days in Bali is said to be nothing to worry about excessively. This comes from the virology professor at Udayana University, Dr. Mahardika, and I've talked about Dr. Mahardika before too. He said the number of cases cannot be used as a reference because testing is so small. He said the important thing is to look at the hospital occupancy rate or the BOR, bed occupancy rate, and he said that that is low. So that's good news. However, the good doctor did say that Bali still needs to continue on with the vaccinations so that we reach target of According to this article, about 70% of Bali has had the booster, and that's the highest in Indonesia. If 70% has had the booster, that is pretty high. The head of the Bali Provincial Health Office, Dr. Inyomanggede Anam, and I've talked about him before too, said that his party constantly reminds the public to obey the health protocols. He said, we're getting this thing, it's not out of control yet, there is no big surge here, but people need to keep to the health protocol so that we don't get one. Okay, so you can do your bit by following the laws here, and one of the laws is to wear a mask, and of course, this is Indonesia. Are people following the mask? I don't know. It seems like less and less are. And of course, social distancing, and as I've said hundreds of times in the last 2 years, social distancing is an impossibility in Indonesia. So let's hope that the numbers stay down. And we've got G20 coming up, right? And I've been talking about that for quite a while. What about electricity? Because, you know, electricity before the pandemic, we had outages going on, and electricity wasn't always stable up here in Bulang. I don't know about in other parts of Bali. But the government is concerned about the lights going out with G20 delegates here and them going, what's going on in Indonesia? PLN prepares 184 megawatts of electricity reserves to prevent blackouts during G20. And the summit will be on the 15th and 16th of November in Nusa Dua. General Manager of PLN Bali Main Distribution Unit, Iwayan Udayana, explained that the available power generation capacity for Bali's needs is 980 megawatts, while the peak load of electricity usage is estimated to reach 796 megawatts. So that means there is a reserve of 184 megawatts. The general manager said the generator is in safe condition, and we are also maintaining the reliability of electricity supply by preparing UPS, uninterruptible power supply, and generators. Udayana said there were 91 G20 main events and side events taking place in Bali this year, and at each event PLN alerts 50 personnel to anticipate incidents related to electricity disturbance. He said, we want to convince customers and the public that electricity affairs are best left to PLN, because through a series of experiences, not only has the reliability of our system been tested, our team is always ready to provide the best service to customers. The general manager concluded that PLN periodically checks and maintains infrastructure related to power supply, including power plants and cables. Maintenance activities, he added, are carried out in accordance with standard operating procedures that apply before and after the event so that blackouts can almost certainly be prevented. I hope so. And the other day I talked about Bali's governor wanting to make sure that Bali has their own electricity so we are not dependent on anybody anywhere. And that's a good idea. And how about some entertainment and what is happening to Bali? I talked about the Holy Wings change of the name with the beach club down there in La La Land in the south. Well, there have been so many articles. I think it's the Tribune, right? It seems like they're a cheerleading section for this place. There were about 9 articles about it, all talking about the same stuff that you can find out by going to the website, like their menu, how much things cost. If you want to find out about that, take a look at their menu. Anyway, this is more about here, and it's a very short one. Can absorb local workers in North Bali. Invite Krisna to open a beach club in North Bali. Oh, what a terrible translation. Okay, I should have done that by hand. So there is an entrepreneur and businessman up here in the north, Ajit Krisna, and he was present at the grand opening of the Atlas Beach Fest, and he was congratulating Hotman Paris on what a great job he's doing. He says, congratulations on the launching or opening of Atlas Beach Fest. Thanks to Atlas means that it can accommodate 1,000 workers for the local Balinese community. And according to Pak Krisna, he was talking to Hotman Paris and he said, open one up in North Bali because, wow, we could get a lot of people employed here. And wouldn't it be great? Just what we need here is another monstrosity. We have a couple of smaller beach clubs anyway, I think. Do we really need these things? We've got a water park. We've got 2 water parks here now. We've got one over by Saririt that I've been to, and then we've got one that's before then. Is there a need for a beach club up here? Is there a market for that? We don't have all the young people, the influencers, the YouTubers, and the digital nomads. We don't have all those folks up here, thank God. And so he said, hey, let's get it here, because tourist destinations with lifestyle concepts in Bali are growing. Is there gonna be any beach left after all this construction, all this development goes on? Hard to say. This is definitely not Bali from the old days. So Pak Ajik has offered 3 hectares of beach land for development if Hotman Paris wants to come up here and make another one of those things. Is that going to happen? Hopefully not until the airport is built, because I don't think that's ever going to happen. Okay, what's going on with Komodo? President Jokowi has been over there. President Jokowi calls for Komodo airport infrastructure upgrade. President Jokowi said he intends to continue the expansion of Komodo Labuan Bajo Airport in East Nusa Tenggara in order to better facilitate international tourists. He said, we will continue to improve the facilities that are lacking. This is the Komodo Airport, the terminal, which has been widened. It's still not wide enough. If it gets fuller, they add another 100 meters apparently. You can bring in the big planes, the big international flights directly into Labuan Bajo. So more airports, more tourists. It's never ending. So after inaugurating the airport, Pak Jokowi and his entourage left for Rinca Island, and they went aboard a traditional ship. And there the president was going to inaugurate Rinca Island Area Komodo National Park project. Terrible admission fee for Komodo National Park is Indonesia rupiah 3.75 million. So in a press statement while he was in Rinca Island, Pak Jokowi explained why the fee is so high. He said, this is it. We want conservation, but we also want the economy through tourism, through tourists. This must be balanced. According to Pak Jokowi, Labuan Bajo is lucky because Komodo dragons do not only live on one island, but can be found on Komodo Island, Rinca Island, and Padar Island. Pak Jokowi joked the conservationists agreed that everything was on Komodo Island, and on Padar Island, the ones for tourists were given on Rinca Island. So we will fix this for tourists and also for the Komodo dragons. That was a joke, haha. Pak Jokowi emphasized, he must have been in a good mood this day, he emphasized that the Komodo dragons on Rinca Island and Komodo Island are the same. Their faces look the same, he said. So if you want to see Komodo dragons, he said, do it here. Don't go to Komodo and Padar Island. If you go to Komodo Island, if you really want to go to Komodo Island, you can go, but you're going to pay because there is a different rate for the 2 different islands, the 3 different islands. So this rate increase is supposed to start going from what, 200,000 to 3.75 million is supposed to start August 1st, not too far away. What is going to happen when August 1st comes? I don't know. What do we say usually? We'll just have to wait and see. And these videos are never the same if I don't have something from Pak Sandiaga Uno. Maybe someday I will meet him. Sandiaga Uno asserts women's crucial role in Indonesia's tourism. So the Tourism and Creative Economy Minister said in a written statement that women have a strategic role in Indonesia's tourism industry. As he said, approximately roughly 55% of all the people working in the tourist industry are women. Pak Sandiaga believes that by putting forth women's empowerment, this is going to be the main concern in reigniting the economy and opening up more job opportunities. He said we must prioritize empowering women and gender equality. So we must provide opportunities and empowerment for great and independent women. Okay. Pak Sandiaga said he is going to collect data on the involvement of women in the industry in order to enable the Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy to formulate policies that will help strengthen women's participation in the development of the creative sector. And Bule's behaving badly. Okay, we got two, and they're both overstays, and I mean overstays. And, well, punishments varied quite a bit. Let's take a look at the first one. Bali immigration deports Egyptian Caucasian for violating stay permit. An Egyptian tourist was deported to his country after 7 months of being detained at the Denpasar Immigration Detention Center. 7 months. I've heard that place is not pleasant. And he was there for 7 months. According to the article, the Egyptian tourist arrived at the Jakarta airport, or the VOA, on February 2nd, 2020. And his goal was to come to Indonesia to vacation. Then, on February 24th, 2021, he got an onshore visa with a sponsor of his wife. However, until mid-2021, the resident permit period expired. He didn't leave Indonesia. He stuck around. Finally, he came to the immigration office on December 22nd, 2001, and was busted. Why didn't he leave? He said he didn't have any money to pay for the tickets. Immigration said, hey, you're here over 60 days, so you're in trouble. The Egyptian tourist said that he was just negligent. He wasn't trying to do anything criminal, but immigration can carry out the administrative actions nonetheless because he did violate the law. Because the deportation could not be carried out, the immigration office handed him over to the Denpasar Detention Center, and he's been cooling his heels there for 7 months. The head of Denpasar Detention Center said that after he was detained for almost 7 months, the administration was ready. He was deported by first doing a PCR test with a negative result, and then he was accompanied by several officers to the airport to make sure he got on a Saudi Arabian Airlines flight. So he's been deported, and he may be banned for a certain period of time. I think the normal is 6 months to start with. Don't overstay. What's the lesson from this? Don't overstay. And here's another issue. People are getting sent home. Transporting luggage to the airport. Female Dutch Caucasian businesswoman, owner of Bungalow in Lombok, deported from Bali due to overstay of 461 days. I wonder what's behind this story. I would love to know what's going on. If anybody is in Lombok and has something that you can add to this without getting in trouble or betraying a confidence, love to hear about this. So apparently she ran a restaurant and she has a bungalow in Lombok, and so she was deported accordance with Article 48, Paragraph 1 of Law Number 6, year 2011 concerning immigration. The Dutch woman was deported on KLM Royal Dutch Airlines, and she was sent back to Amsterdam. According to a spokesperson for immigration, the Dutch Caucasian woman lived in Indonesia precisely on the island of Lombok for 8 years and 3 months. She's been here since 2014. Wow, this is a curious case. Her purpose in coming to Indonesia was to invest and build a business engaged in the food and restaurant sector. And the first time she entered Indonesia using a social visit visa and stayed for 6 months. Then she applied for an investor visa, which she got. And she was given a kitas, and that was valid until October 23rd, 2020. It was expired, and apparently she tried to get a kitap then by asking fellow Indonesian citizens for help, but it was never completed. And then in December 2021, officers from Immigration Division of NTP, Ministry of Law and Human Rights, came to check passports. They found her. She said she lost her passport and she didn't bother reporting it to the embassy of her country. And in this case, the Immigration Office Class 1 TPI Mataram NTB stated that this foreigner did not have a passport while the immigration stay permit had expired October 23, 2020. Apparently, she also said this was due to negligence, not any intention to defraud or trick the government. But the law is the law according to immigration, and so she was detained for 2 weeks. So this poor Egyptian guy was in the cell for 7 months. She was detained for 2 weeks and deported, and she was escorted by 3 officers to make sure she boarded her flight to Amsterdam. And she will also be subject to being banned depending on what the Director General of Immigration says. And what do we have to learn about this? Make sure you keep your documents in order. Boy, immigration does not mess around. If they catch you violating these laws, they are going to get you. Okay, that is it for today. If you found this video helpful, useful, informative, interesting, scintillating, non-irritating, humorous, I appreciate a thumbs up. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. And if you have not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Videos are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Cooking video on Sunday, but it is on my wife's channel, and you can find that up here. And she does some great cooking, amazing cook. And take a look and listen to her videos, watch her videos, and I would appreciate it if you subscribe to her channel so that she's encouraged and wants to do this more and more. As I said in the last video, I get good food then. Okay, thanks for viewing. Be kind to someone today, stay safe, and I will see you on Monday.